Hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. This is Brandon from freestatecolorado.com with your weekly news roundup for June 10th, 2024. Nearly every week, I take a look at some headlines, news stories, and articles from across our great state. You can find all of the links at freestatecolorado.com, as well as some original interviews, articles, and more. Just recently had a great interview presentation with Natalie Menton, one of Colorado's Liberty leaders, discussing what's going on in this property tax fight. State legislature passed some property tax bills this year, and there's a big ballot initiative coming up. So check that out if you're interested there. And I also did an interview with Linda Bissett of the Good Initiatives to Protect Colorado's Elections. Very interesting. There's going to be some ballot measures for ranked choice voting, all candidate primary elections, and more. Linda and her group are fighting back and really trying to preserve Colorado's election laws and fight back against this radical change. So, really interesting stuff there. But check it out. Lots of great articles and interviews and more. Let's jump into the news this week, though. I really wanted to provide an update to what's going on in Brighton. This Polizzi Farm issue is generating a lot of attention, even nationwide. This is a 96-year-old family farm that's been there. Family saying they're not going to be able to continue operating like they have for so long because of this new metro district trying to use eminent domain to come into their property, build some pipelines and a service road. So this article was in the Brighton Standard Blade at coloradocommunitymedia.com by Scott Taylor, June 5th, 2024. Brighton looking for ways to enforce developer agreements in light of Polizzi Farm condemnation fight. Brighton city councilors said Tuesday that there may not be much they can do to save local favorite Polizzi Farm from an eminent domain proceeding, but directed staff to create new rules that would force developers to follow through with future agreements. Quote, we need to create a global tool so we can make sure that this does not happen again and that other development agreements that are in the queue right away are held accountable to what they've agreed to, including what they say during testimony to the council. Councilor Mike Johnston told a group of residents that attended the June 4th City Council meeting. The group was there to support farm owner Deb Polizzi in her efforts to stop Parkland Metropolitan District 1 from taking a portion of her farm and installing a storm sewer line through the middle of her property. Polizzi told councilors that the sewer line would keep her from planting along her 95-year-old farm and effectively close her business. Quote, why are no other solutions being looked at? Only the middle of my farm, Polizzi said. I am asking for your support to do something right here and not take my farm away from me. Make the developer responsible for what he said here to you people. After checking to see if any representatives from the Parkland Metro District were in the audience Tuesday, City Councilor Chris Fielder addressed Metro District Board President and developer Jack Hoagland directly. If you're watching this, make this right, Felder said. If you're watching, make this right. Well, I was there at that city council meeting in Brighton, and it was very inspiring to see so many people from the community show up, speak out, and really try and stand up for Polizzi Farms and fight back against this eminent domain issue. We'll see what's going to happen. Doesn't look like there's a lot of solutions that the city council thinks they can do. So we'll keep an eye on it for sure. It's really looking like it might be up to the Metro District themselves. So, kind of a follow up article to that as well. This is from June 8th, 2024. Also, Scott Taylor, Parkland developer pushes back in Brighton's Polizzi Farm condemnation battle. So, this is the other side of the story here. Parkland Metropolitan District President Jack Hoagland denied making false claims in the process of condemning a path through a local farm after Brighton City councilors raised questions about potential misrepresentations. At issue is Polizzi Farm and Hoagland's effort to condemn part of it to run a stormwater line. The farm says the development would destroy its operations, but Hoagland has doubled down in a June 5th letter to Brighton officials to say farming would continue there. A letter sent from Hoagland on June 5th to members of the Brighton City Council, City Manager Michael Martinez, and City Attorney Alicia Calderon defends Parkland's plan to obtain a 40-foot wide easement across Deb Polizzi's property from east to west. So you got to check this out if you're interested. We'll see what happens exactly. Of course, it's hard not to side with Polizzi Farm, this eminent domain issue. These metro districts, people aren't very aware of who they are and what they are, but they're these local levels of government that sometimes have too much power, like we're seeing here. So check that out if you're interested. We'll go ahead and continue on, though. More articles to cover this week. So just how dangerous is RTD, right? That's a big question. Some of these politicians, these lawmakers down in Denver are trying to push everybody to use RTD, to get in mass transit, to take away our parking spaces, take away our gas vehicles, and do everything they can to try and live this kind of lifestyle that not a lot of people want. So this article is from the DenverPest.com. As violence and drugs spill into RTDs, buses, and trains, agency works to make transit safer. Assaults or threats to RTD passengers occurred at a rate of one per day over the last 3 years, data shows. So one per day, right? If you're riding RTD, at least somebody there is going to get assaulted or threatened with assault or something along those lines. So this article was from June 7th, 2024. They go through, as these articles usually do, kind of a little story here. This guy has somebody smoking fentanyl on there, people fighting, people having a lot of issues running the bus. I mean, it's definitely a tough situation there for some of these people to have to take these buses because they don't have a car, they can't afford it. This is the future that Colorado's politicians are really pushing. Passengers on RTD's buses and trains were assaulted or threatened at a rate of one per day over the last 3 years, according to agency records obtained by the Denver Post. RTD drivers are also assaulted regularly, more than 100 times a year on average since 2019, records show, as they work amid crime and antisocial behavior, including riders using illegal drugs and unhoused people who sleep in station elevators and on climate controlled buses and trains. The violence has spurred RTD's directors to double the district's police force, ramp up armed patrols, and install protective barriers between drivers and passengers. Yikes. Yeah, I mean, we think about, people smoking fentanyl on these buses, people committing violent acts. I mean, armed conflict. You can read this article, but, it doesn't take much to see just every day something coming up about some issues in RTD. There's really not a great solution to it, except like they're doing, have more passengers, more police officers to protect the passengers, have increased costs, maybe even to pay for it all. So we'll see what happens with RTD. But of course, this is something that needs to be brought up again and again because we have these Denver lawmakers trying to force everybody into taking these mass transit options. And it's just not safe. It's not something people want to do for good reason. Well, let's go ahead and move on. From the Great Complete Colorado, page 2. Complete Colorado is a news aggregator with Colorado specific news. You should definitely be checking that out at least once a day. This is from John Caldera, president of the Independence Institute, from June 5th, 2024. The state erases history at Arvada High School. Kill the Redskins. Remember the scene from Charlton Heston's The Ten Commandments, where the Pharaoh orders Moses' name stricken from the history books? The state of Colorado is now Pharaoh. So let it be written, so let it be done. Let's make this a little bigger here. Arvada High School has been around for more than 100 years, one of the oldest high schools in Colorado. Its physical location has moved around as the city has grown, but since 1920, it's been a source of pride for many students, teachers, and graduates. Its traditional mascot name, the Redskins, was dropped in 1993 in favor of the more politically correct and maybe more metaphorically accurate Reds. A few years later, Reds was changed to the criminally milquetoast Bulldogs. But with today's discrimination against pit bulls, including cities that ban them, that name might be too offensive to a future generation. But this isn't the story of a school dropping an offensive mascot name. This is the story of the state requiring history be scrubbed from the records. Arvada High has what it calls its museum. It's not actually a museum, it's mostly a large trophy case with artifacts from the school's history, including the original front door of its first high school. The exhibit items were gifted from past generations of graduates. It even holds a history booklet telling the tale of their mascot. After the school building was completed in 1922, vocational agriculture and welding teacher Thomas D. Vanderhoof built a football field and started a team. A student from the time said, quote, "The dye from the red football jerseys stained our skin. A young girl noticed this and told Coach Van that we looked like Redskins." A mascot was born. Even though another history compilation says the area's Native Americans liked the new name, so long as the football team always fought fairly, it was obviously born out of pure hate and racism. So, given for 3/4 of its existence, everything at Arvada High was adorned with Indian themed emblems and words, like the school newspaper, the Redskin Arrow. It's no surprise 3/4 of its museum's contents are emblazoned with those emblem and words. So, in good old fashioned book burning style, it looks like most of the museum's 100-year-old content will be removed. Certainly, you can blame the school administrators for whitewashing history. See what I did there, whitewashing. But they give the excuse every educrat and concentration camp guard uses. We're just following orders. Just like the communists in Russia just had to change Stalingrad's name to Leningrad The communists in the Colorado State Legislature just have to rewrite history. In 2021, the governor signed Senate Bill 116, which outlawed naming public schools and mascots after Indians or face a $25,000 a month fine. The Colorado Commission of Indian Affairs got the privilege to decide what we should find offensive. So good thing Arvada High dropped its Redskins moniker in 1993, right? Well, in October, the Jefferson County School District got a love letter from the commission notifying them they voted to put Arvada High on its hit list for a mascot they haven't had in 3 decades. How cool is it that this commission has the word Indian in it, yet runs around commanding people to ban the word Indian? They informed Jeffco the use of a prohibited American Indian mascot may include, but is not limited to, a school's display or depiction of such a mascot on its grounds, physical buildings, letterhead, website, tangible property, or equipment, even if the prohibited American Indian mascot no longer serves as the student's official mascot. Funny, I can't find any of that in the last part, any of that last part in Senate Bill 116. So Arvada High's historical items and all the lessons about racism they teach will likely go. And this revisionism is not just in the schools, it's in the city park where SB 116 doesn't apply, only identity politics does. Years ago, alumni paid for a boulder with a large metal plaque honoring the site of the original Arvada High School, but it was stained with the Redskins moniker. The boulder is still there, the large metal plaque has been ripped off. I've been told it's sitting in the Arvada city manager's office. Forget school pride, sterilizing history condemns the young to repeat it. Good work, guys. So another good article there from John Caldera with his signature wit and humor. But yeah, really sad to see history being erased. You know, this whole idea of not being offensive, of trying to change what happened in the past. It's not a good thing, right? It's really not a good thing. So good article there. Let's go ahead and move on. The Denver Gazette. Governor Jared Polis signs bill delaying statewide implementation of ranked choice voting in Colorado. Last minute amendment to Senate Bill 210 could delay ranked choice voting, June 6, 2024. Governor Jared Polis on Thursday signed an elections bill that includes a last minute amendment that would limit the concept of ranked choice voting to a pilot phase in several municipalities before it could be implemented statewide. In a statement, Polis defended his decision to sign Senate Bill 210, saying it contains important provisions to ensure safe, efficient, and trustworthy administration of elections. As for the bill's ranked choice voting provisions, the governor acknowledged it was added without proper stakeholding, but noted that if voters this November approve the ballot initiative on this issue, he will work to successfully implement it. So there you go. Very interesting. Check that out. Check out that interview I did with Linda Bissett as well. But this whole ranked choice voting thing that's going to be on the ballot is not really ranked choice voting. It's a modified version of ranked choice voting. So it's going to be very confusing. There's going to be a lot of questions about what's going to be on the ballot in November. I'll definitely be doing a lot of videos, a lot of information to be provided on those topics. But check this article out if you're interested. If you're involved in elections at all, this is something you got to pay attention to. Let's go ahead and move on. So local, local, local. This is where people need to be focusing their efforts, their liberty activism, and really trying to preserve that liberty and freedom in your local community, whether it's your municipality, your city council, your county office, whatever it is. This is from June 6, 2024, Castle Rock News Press, ColoradoCommunityMedia.com. Castle Rock, Douglas County officials opt out of law banning guns in meeting rooms and courts. There we go. Castle Rock's town council has decided to opt out of a new law that bans guns in government buildings and courthouses. The recent decision comes in the wake of a 2024 law legislators passed that bans guns from sensitive spaces, including government buildings, starting July 1. The law allows municipalities to opt out of the ban, and Castle Rock's council members unanimously approved an ordinance to do just that. The move maintains the town's policy that allows people to carry guns in the town hall. Castle Rock's town charter prevents the council from placing any restriction or limitation on the right of citizens to keep and bear firearms without voter approval, with the exception of laws regarding brandishing and discharging. Under Colorado law, open carrying of firearms is legal for people older than 18 and who can legally possess a firearm, and concealed carry is legal with a permit. So there we go. Douglas County Commissioners approved a similar ordinance, opting out of the ban for county buildings in the unincorporated areas of the county. So this is where the fight is, people. You know, even though the state legislature, our state government and governor are really trying to destroy our fundamental rights as gun owners, Uh, Castle Rock, Douglas County are kind of showing that they don't have to go along with it, right? So get involved in your local government, know who represents you, know how the process works, what policies are in place, and then have some influence, use your voice. So great information there, pretty hopeful. Let's go and move on. From KDVR.com, this is some scary stuff. The surveillance state continues to grow. June 6, 2024, 111 license plate readers to be installed across Colorado by mid-June. Dozens of license plate readers have been installed across Denver with a total of 111 expected throughout the city by mid-June. Installation of the new automated license plate reader network is already underway, with 55 in place since the plan was announced in January, as part of an initiative to crack down on auto theft. Plate readers are to be installed at about 70 intersections throughout Denver, according to the Denver Police Department. In a release on Wednesday, the department said the plate readers installed so far have already led to success stories in tracking suspect and stolen vehicles, including 15 cases in May that led to an arrest or an assist on an investigation. The ALPR network is providing the investigative leads we expected, and we are optimistic about achieving even more positive outcomes like these for our community once the network is fully installed, Police Chief Ron Thomas said in a statement. Wow. So, kind of freaky stuff to think that there's cameras all across Denver that are just continuously reading license plates, continuously watching who's driving by. I mean, this is potential for abuse. Of course, this information needs to be safeguarded. There needs to be some real serious oversight of this. So, we'll continue to see what happens. But ultimately, it's a great thing to stop criminals, right? Hard to argue there. It's great to stop auto theft, great to stop some of the bad people out there committing these crimes. But at the same time, really got to ensure that people's rights, people's privacy does not get violated. Let's go ahead and move on. The Denver Gazette. There's an immigration issue in Colorado that I think is going to have some big repercussions this election. Let's see what's going on here with the latest June 6, 2024. Recent illegal immigration influx costs up to $340 million across the Denver metro, study says. $340 million. Unbelievable. The cost to the Metro Denver region to shelter, educate, and provide healthcare services to the more than 40,000 immigrants is as high as $340 million, according to estimates from a new study. The cost has typically been calculated using Denver only spending data. Although other communities, notably Aurora, Colorado Springs, and Douglas County, have tried to blunt the economic impact of more than 40,000 immigrants coming with Denver officials rolling up the welcome mat, it is widely understood that Denver is not absorbing these new arrivals alone. Released Thursday by the Common Sense Institute, the report was an attempt to calculate the cost to house, feed, educate, and provide healthcare services to the immigrants who arrived in Denver after illegally crossing the southern border. The study placed the high end of that cost at $340 million and the lower end at $216 million. Wow. Absolutely unbelievable. So much money. I mean, that's tax money. This is our roads are in disrepair, crime is through the roof, and unfortunately, the policies of these politicians are leading to hundreds of millions of dollars being spent to prop up this illegal immigration snafu here. So moving on, related news from CPR. This is from June 5th, 2024. Undocumented immigrants will get Colorado driver's licenses much more quickly under new law. So, no wonder people who are here illegally or undocumented are coming to Colorado because Colorado officials, Colorado legislators are making it much easier for these undocumented people to be here in the state. Undocumented immigrants arriving in Colorado won't have to wait 2 years for a driver's license anymore. Under a new law, they'll soon be able to apply immediately for a license. They don't want handouts. They are trying desperately to get a job and work in order to feed their families and be part of this community, said Julie Gonzalez, a Democrat who sponsored the new measure. The new law removes the 2 year waiting requirement, but applicants will still have to pass a written test, vision screening, and a driving test to get a license. They will also have to be able to provide official identification from their home country, with options including a voter identification card or other official documents such as a driver's license, permit, or other identification card. People could use expired versions of these documents as long as they've expired sometime within the previous 10 years. Wow. The bill also loosens some other requirements on the program. There's no longer a requirement that the applicants have a Colorado income tax return or a social security number or individual taxpayer identification number as those take time to obtain. Governor Jared Polis signed the bill into law on Wednesday, but the change won't go into effect until March 31st, 2025. Opponents of the bill argued that it would make the state more attractive for undocumented immigrants, of course. Supporters said that immigrants are already driving here without insurance or testing, arguing that licensing some of those drivers will improve public safety. Don't know about that, but very interesting. This is an issue that continues to go on, something that people need to be paying attention to. And, if I was a voter, I might want to know which of my legislators, which of my representatives voted to support this legislation. So we'll see. Moving on. From the Sentinel, sentinelcolorado.com, opinion piece here from Jeff Roberts. Jeff Roberts is great. He does the Colorado Freedom of Information Coalition. Did an interview with him last year. A really good guy, really fighting the good fight for open government here in Colorado. Roberts, Aurora police still encrypting scanners, rejecting delayed public broadcast. APD, Aurora PD, requires news outlets to agree to indemnifying Aurora from and against all claims, damages, liabilities from the agreement. Here we go. Let's blow this up a little bit. The recent death at age 89 of longtime police reporter Marilyn Robinson brought to mind an enduring image for those of us who were colleagues of hers at the Denver Post. An image perfectly described in an obituary written earlier this month by another former colleague, Bruce Finley. Quote, she worked mostly in the newsroom, beneath towering stacks of old newspapers and her notes, making countless calls to dispatchers, desk sergeants, and frontline officers from the old landline telephones, sometimes with a phone on each ear, sustaining herself on coffee, Pepsi, popcorn, and yogurt, Finley recalled. Robinson simultaneously monitored chatter from police radio scanners. The radio scanners were vital tools of Robinson's trade, tipping her off to police activities throughout the Denver metro area. Information she corroborated by making those countless calls to her many, many sources. But they wouldn't be so useful if Robinson were still reporting today. As we've previously written, the Denver Police Department fully encrypted its radio communications in 2019, and the Aurora Police Department went silent 3 years earlier. Moves they said were necessary to protect officer safety and tactical decisions and to prevent the public release of people's personal information. Recently, the Colorado Freedom of Information Coalition learned that Aurora PD, when Art Acevedo was interim chief, considered reinstating a public feed of radio transmissions with a 10-minute delay through the Broadcastify mobile app. The delay would have alleviated a lot, but not all, of our internal concerns about officer safety, tactical decisions, etc. Joe Moylan, the department's public information officer, told CFOIC in an emailed response to our questions. But Broadcastify doesn't provide a way to protect witness and victim information that might be transmitted over the radio to the public, he added. Ultimately, scuttling the project was the 2023 enactment of legislation that requires the deletion of all names and identifying information of juvenile victims and witnesses from police and court records. We have a moral and ethical obligation to protect victim and witness privacy, Moylan wrote. We take that very seriously, and even while we were considering the Broadcastify option, there are significant concerns among leadership about how we would continue to protect victims and witnesses. So check this article out. It's definitely an issue. It's definitely a goal of the Colorado Liberty Movement is to have unencrypted but open communications for the public in terms of what police are doing. So an issue that is not going away, issue that a lot of work remains on. So check that out if you're interested. Moving on here from the Denver Gazette. Council's tax hike proposal will make Denver's sales tax highest in metro area. Wow, June 6, 2024. Council members are pushing for a sales tax hike to help fund Denver Health that, if approved, would make Denver the highest taxed major city in the wider metro area. The proposed 0.34 point hike would put Denver's total sales tax rate above the 9.9% mark to 9.15%. Wow. That would make Denver one of the highest taxed municipalities in the state, higher than Boulder's, with only the ski and mountain towns surpassing it. Some council members worry that Denver voters recoil at the prospect of a tax hike. Well, they should. Councilmember Kevin Flint said Denver voters have previously been generous, but he worries the proposed tax hike may be a bridge too far. He said that his worries stem from fears that, in addition to the sales tax, another pair of proposals, which were not discussed at Wednesday's meeting and not yet public, will also go to Denver voters, putting the total tax rate along with 3.4 point increase at 9.61%. That's absolutely insane. And how irresponsible for these government officials Inflation is the highest it's been. Costs of goods are through the roof, and they just want to keep raising and raising the cost to buy your groceries or stuff you need for your house, stuff you need for work. Absolutely insane. So shame on Denver City Council. They can't manage their budget. I mean, look at where all this money's going. It's not working out well, folks. Last article of the week, I'd like to talk about from Denver7.com. Xcel customers with smart meters will start paying more for electricity starting Monday. Coloradans will pay nearly 3 times more per kilowatt hour during peak times through September 30th. Yikes. Xcel customers, Xcel Energy customers in Colorado with smart meters will start paying more for electricity during certain hours this summer starting Monday. A measure company officials said is aimed at saving everybody money. The time of use pricing rate, which went into effect June 1st, means Xcel customers will pay nearly 3 times the price per kilowatt hour if using energy during peak time hours from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. on weekdays. Customers using electricity within that time frame will see their energy bill go up from 12 cents per kilowatt hour to 32 cents per kilowatt hour, nearly 3 times more than if using electricity during off-peak hours. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, Xcel Energy, is getting away with a lot. They have this quasi monopoly over so much of Colorado's energy usage. Something's got to be done to rein them in, and just shows these smart meters are not necessarily a great idea for individuals out there that give up some control over their own electricity usage. Wow. Well, something to keep an eye on. But hey, really appreciate you joining me this week. Some interesting news stories, links at freestatecolorado.com. I have a lot more coming up. So thank you again and take care. We'll see you.